The market has been in a state of insanity, and things are actually not looking good. This can be evident because many governments have turned to printing more money and throwing cash out just for anyone to have. Ordinary average people found themselves with more money than before and nowhere to spend it. So all of that excess cash flew right into the housing market. This greatly affected the housing sector, and it is making it reach the brink of collapse. In this video, we will be diving deep into what is happening in the housing sector and get to see what is actually causing the collapse and what could be the after effects of this collapse. Just make sure you stay still in this video till the end. Without further ado, then let's get started. According to Redfin, the average property price in Houston, Texas rose from around $250,000 in 2020 to almost $350,000 by 2022. During the same time frame, prices in Boise, Idaho rose from around $350,000 to almost $600,000. Now, this is very different from what is happening today. Housing prices are plunging, and as we speak, prices in Sacramento have already fallen from an average of $530,000 to $440,000, thereby representing a decline of 17% over just a few 7 months. In San Jose, prices for the average property have gone down from $1.5 million to $300,000 over that same 7-month period, representing a decline of 20%. Well, it turns out that the housing market was not as stable as people thought. There's already emerged data and research that the media is yet to tell you about. This explains why things are getting uglier as the housing market collapse has just begun. Truth be told, the housing market is getting far more insecure, and many cities are already seeing massive price drops for the average homes and many others. In California state, for example, San Jose and Sacramento are already seeing a drop in house prices. Many people might be thinking that the cause of such a drop is because people were leaving that state and going to Nevada and Florida. Well, what many of them might be forgetting is that in Nevada and Florida, the story is just a replica of that in California state. The thing here is that these two states were just a few months behind, and house prices in Miami have already fallen by 7% from $550,000 to $515,000. In Las Vegas, it's much worse, with prices falling by 13% from $432,000 to just $375,000. The media is currently reporting on this calamity of the slowing markets, but they don't seem to be so happy about it. CNBC, for example, has brought Sheryl Palmer's CEO, who said that the housing recession has been underway for months now after homebuilder sentiment falls for 12 months in a row. They also reported on the impact that we've seen on mortgage demand as it fell by 13.2% during the last month of 2022 alone, a sure sign that the housing market is not doing very well, as no one wants a mortgage anymore. Even the rental markets haven't been left behind in this mess too, as people are getting poorer because of the current recessions and are now unable to pay their rents anymore, so evictions are already taking a bitter toll on them, which again CNBC has unwillingly reported on. Bloomberg also hasn't been left behind on this, except that it isn't actually claiming that falling house prices is a good thing and not a problem of our economy at all. The truth of the matter is that our collective memory of 2008 and the global financial crisis is just expected to disappear then. When it comes to banks and financial institutions, once again, we see the same story being played over and over again. Wells Fargo is getting so scared about what's going to come that they are firing their mortgage appraisers and trying to cut drastically the number of mortgages they are giving out, maybe because of their remembrance of 2008. Blackstone too, one of the largest financial institutions in the world, already suffered from a bank run after investors tried to take their money out of the Blackstone Real Estate Investment Trust, with over $69 billion worth of assets under management. As we are talking, the whole world is in a crisis mood, leaving no savior, because every first world nation is also suffering from a growing recession. In the UK, the housing market is expected to fall by 10% across 2023. Sweden is facing a day of reckoning as house prices plummet. In Denmark, the housing market is at its worst decline since the global financial crisis, while Germany, on the other hand, is seeing prices fall for the first time in a decade. Many times, we are usually told that we will never see a crash like that one in 2008, that the market has changed and financial systems are different. But things actually seem not to be going as we were told. As I can recall very well, we were told that fixed-rate mortgages would be the saviour of us all, and that no matter how high interest rates go, people's monthly payments will stay the same. The reality today is that we are in a big problem to even think that mortgages would save us. Why? The first fundamental issue is that mortgages are still far from easy to get. There are very many absolute practices put in place, like for example Bank of America, which is offering 0% down mortgages to people in minority communities in an attempt to somehow undo racism. The second problem is that house prices are determined by those who are buying or selling a house, and not by those who have a nice low interest rate on their mortgage and are going to stamp where they are. Well, people are getting poorer, most losing their jobs or taking on pay cuts as inflation eats away the bigger percentage of cash they will have earned. So those people who do have to sell will still get hammered, and those who can buy have to do so with interest rates 2 or 3 times higher than they were before. And they simply can't afford the same house with a mortgage payment of 3 times as high as it once was. This is actually what this new information and data suggest. The credit growth and the financial crisis. A new narrative looking into the idea of subprime mortgages causing the global financial crisis. Now here is what this paper explains. The broadly accepted view of the financial crisis is that it was caused by an expansion in the credit supply to subprime borrowers between 2001 and 2006. So the basic idea here is that we saw a credit boom in the early 2000s, where everyone was getting access to new debt in the form of credit cards, student loans, car loans, and most importantly, mortgages. If you can look into this, you will realize that this is what fundamentally caused the crash. So the question is, what actually caused the crash? An abstract comes on this and says this: we use a large administrative panel of credit file data to examine the evolution of household debt and defaults between 1999 and 2013. Findings suggest an alternative narrative that challenges the large role of subprime credit in the crisis. That credit growth between 2001 and 2007 was concentrated in the prime segment, and debt to high-risk borrowers was virtually constant for all debt categories during the periods. In short, the data says that this crash was not caused by subprime mortgages, but by people who could not afford their mortgages being given to them. Even though that's all that we've been taught to believe for years, the rise of mortgage defaults was concentrated also in the middle of the credit score distribution, meaning that everyone was defaulting on their mortgages and not just the poorest or the least reliable borrowers. So what the paper actually tries to tell us is that real estate investors were defaulting on their debts at a rate far much greater than normal people, and that they are the real concentration point for mortgage failures. The rise in mortgage defaults during the crisis was concentrated in the middle of the credit score distribution and mostly attributable to real estate investors. This was a group that defaulted across the board and contributed in an outsized manner to having house prices dropping off the cliff, and what we have been seeing happening over the last few years since COVID took off, and even before. For a very long time now, more and more homes were bought up by investors instead of homeowners. In 2020, investor purchases grew up by 64%, and in 2021, the purchases grew up by 39%. There have been many towns where half of every house sold is snatched up by an investor, and when we see another full-scale housing market crash, it stands out that investors will suffer and default on their mortgages again. Very soon, we will start seeing words like crash and collapse used in headlines, and then see home prices literally drop by 50% over the course of a single month. The truth here is that our future will be messy. What we are just witnessing now is just but a tip of the iceberg. To get house prices to where they are required to be means we need several years to offset this preceding load of current problems. What are your views on this? What do you think should be done to bring back the market to normality again? Please don't forget to leave your suggestions in the comment section below. This brings us to the end of our video today, and if you loved watching this video, please don't forget to send us those likes. Also, do not forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell for more of our content. Thank you for watching, and let's meet in our next video.